Good morning. This is Eric Christofferson, estate planning attorney specialist and managing partner of Grams and Christofferson Law Firm. I'm here to talk to you about a question I get a lot from clients and just people in general wanting to know about what I do and how it works. And that is, what is the difference between a will and a trust? And how do I know which one is right for me and my family? Well, this is obviously a very complex question that's going to depend on what is your family situation, what assets do you have, and what goals do you have to use those assets to benefit your family. So with that all being said, seek legal advice from an appropriate counsel as to your specific situation, but let me give you some generalities that should apply across the board in terms of concepts in this area. First off is that when understanding the difference between a will and a trust, it's important to understand that if you have a will and use that will to pass assets, those assets do go through the probate court system, which obviously has a number of implications in terms of how are those assets going to be administered, but the court process tends to be longer, more expensive, and less private than having a private administration through a trust. So that's the typical trade-off of the negatives of going through the court system is your estate is subject to probate. Now, well, what's the benefit of having a will? Why would you want to have one? And that is that it's typically easier to set up because your assets just stay as they are and simply go under your will at death. And consequently, the planning is less complex, and so the upfront cost of establishing a will is cheaper. So that's the pros of the will. Now, compared to a living trust, you're going to have a more expensive upfront cost to establish that because the process will involve updating titling and beneficiary designations on your assets to coordinate them in a private family trust vehicle. That vehicle then will be exempt from probate when you die or your spouse dies and you're passing on those assets to the next generation. So that is generally the positive of having a trust is it's administratively efficient, it's private, the back end cost is substantially less because you're not subject to going through that court system. The con obviously being the higher upfront cost to set up. So it is an issue of pay now versus pay later, but typically when using a revocable trust, your costs will be substantially saved in the long run. So most people who do have means to implement that trust vehicle do decide to do so. That's not to say that people with simpler estates and simple family situations can't just use a will platform, but again, it's a very nuanced question that you want to talk with your personal estate planning attorney about. Thanks for watching.